Okay, so we are getting started going live. I'm just going to project us live on Facebook in the right place. Okay, just give me a hot minute, you guys. And if you guys are just joining us, just mute out your phone, please. Just remember that this is going to be recorded for evergreen content. If you don't want to be in the picture, turn your camera off. Policy panel with Dr. Jody's friends. You're all my friends, right? And then go to your group. Okay. And then we're going to, this is like the ultimate stressor. Screen. There we go. Okay, here we go. We are officially live. So it's me, it's Dr. Jody here in New Jersey. And if you've known me for a hot minute and heard me share, you know that I'm not a policy person. I'm a pediatric and prenatal chiropractor of 22 years. I run Staffless Practice, which is an online school to skyrocket efficiency for wellness practitioners. Whenever I have a student say to me, hey, Jody, I need to know about health insurance, or I need to know about malpractice insurance, or I need to know about HIPAA or an exit strategy, what I'm really good at doing is knowing what I'm not good at doing. So I have a tendency to say, I'm not the person you need to speak to, but I know the guy who is, or I know the gal who is. So enter all of my girls and gals who are the people to speak to when it comes to all things policies. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend about 5 minutes. We're already running late with introductions. And then we're going to ask a question to each one of our panelists. Ideally, we're going to ask 2 questions as long as we have time. So Anthony, you want to just jump in and introduce yourself for a couple of minutes?
Sure. I'm Dr. Anthony Carino. I am the president and co-founder of Chiro Futures Malpractice Insurance Company. And today I'm here to talk to you, answer some questions in regards to it.
I love it. Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol Wilk. I am an independent insurance broker. I'm helping people maneuver through the complexity of the health insurance world, aside from other insurances. But it's kind of appropriate that this meeting is today because it's the first day of open enrollment for 2023. So I'm sure there'll be some questions regarding that today, I would imagine. Nice to meet you.
You guys should know that most of the people on this call are my people. They're the people that manage all of my stuff, and they do it so brilliantly. With that being said, Sue?
Hi, I'm Sue Martino, and so I'm an independent insurance agent in New Jersey for over 30 years now. And I want to make sure my clients are protected and have the right insurance coverages in place. And make sure that you're whole at the end of the day if a claim does occur.
I love it. I'm so glad you're here. Jeff?
Hello, my name is Dr. Jeff Brown. I have made it my mission to solve the HIPAA compliance problem once and for all by making it fast, simple, and affordable.
I love it. Home run every time. Janice?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Janice Hughes. I'm a chiropractor. I have been a coach in the health space, the health practitioner space. I really basically just help people figure out how to begin to exit and how to make money doing it and sell your practice.
Love it. And Chris?
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Koopman. I am president and founder of Statera Wealth Solutions. I've been in the financial space, actually celebrating my 20th year today. And I focus on holistic and sustainable wealth creation, asset protection strategies, as well as retirement exit strategies.
And I gotta say, you guys, the pool is wide of who I can pick to collaborate with in these circles. And I'm very picky about who I work with. So the people who you have in front of you are my favorite. They're some of my favorite people on the planet. And I've got lots of personal memories with a lot of you guys. I'm just so grateful that you're here. So we're gonna go one panelist at a time, asking you a question. Just a gentle reminder, you've got 2 minutes to answer your question. I will interrupt you. Okay, so the first, and we're going to go in order of who is being introduced. Anthony, you're first. So is it important to have malpractice insurance a malpractice insurance company that fully understands and protects your practice philosophy?
100% so, yes. And when you are not the standard of care in the United States or in any place in the world, and you are on the cusp of that, you are not looked upon as, this is normal for healthcare. So when people come to chiropractors, there's a misconception that chiropractors offer back and neck pain. And from a back and neck pain model is where most chiropractors begin practice. In this group here, like many of the groups that we insure, chiropractors are healthcare practitioners. And so they build wellness models of practice where the spine and the brain and the central nervous system are the emphasis of what the care is provided for. And so the chiropractor or other healthcare practitioners who practice from a wellness model are not practicing from this standard sickness disease model. And so having someone that insures you, that understands the difference between taking a person from poor health and taking them through a process of improved health and then maintaining their health throughout their
30
lifetime
seconds, my friend.
is not what you see today in the healthcare system. So you want any insurance that you have that supports what you do on a daily basis.
I love it. Thank you so much. And Miss Carol, what is the exchange and how does it work?
Okay. I don't know if 2 minutes is going to be enough, but I'll do my best. So the exchange started out as a federal thing through healthcare.gov. Many of the states have now brought it down to a state level rather than a federal level, but it is a place where, and it all started with the Affordable Care Act in 2012. It's a place where individuals can go to access health insurance, but if their income level is under a certain point or under a certain level, so for example, for a single person for 2023, if their income is under $81,540, adjusted gross income, they can receive tax credit subsidy that will help pay the monthly premium. It's deducted right off of the top of the monthly premium. So for many people, it can be extremely helpful because, as we all know, health insurance continues to increase monthly premiums year after year after year, and it just seems never ending. So it is a place where people can access insurance for and receive subsidy to help reduce the premiums in a bottom line nutshell.
Awesome. And the one thing I want to say about Carol is she makes it so safe to ask questions about health insurance. And because I just sound completely ridiculous when I ask questions about policies. And I remember sitting at my dining room table and just feeling nurtured and loved on. And I appreciate who you are in the world. And with that being said, Miss Sue, why is it important for, why is it important for someone to carry professional liability insurance?
Yeah, sure. So your clients are coming to you because they need a service from you, right? They need your guidance or your advice pertaining to their wellness. So what happens if you misdiagnose a patient, or even if you don't misdiagnose them, but they're not happy with the service you provided for them? The first thing they're going to do, they're going to seek legal advice. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in now. So professional liability coverage is going to protect you against the claims of negligence that are brought to you from your clients. And, even if you're not found negligent, and you didn't do anything wrong, and the carrier doesn't pay out, to your client, the policy will still provide legal defense costs. You need an attorney to represent you. And that's very, very costly. So professional liability policy, it's just very important, for any individual that's advising, especially in health and wellness.
And we're going to come back around to ask each one more question, and then we're going to have a Q&A. And I already have the question. Tell me about the differences between malpractice and professional liability, and maybe both you and Anthony can speak to that. So I'm going to move on to Jeff. Jeff, what's the most common mistake with HIPAA compliance?
Not doing it? No. No, it's actually believing that you're compliant and not really understanding what you need to do. And what I mean by that is most people who are affected by HIPAA, they assume that HIPAA, quote unquote, being compliant means that they're vendors, their EHR vendor, their practice management system, their billing company. It's those people that need to be HIPAA compliant. And as long as I use them, then I'm good. But in reality, that's just one piece of HIPAA. The rest of it involves you managing your own compliance activities, which one of those things is to make sure that you choose business associates, i.e. EHR vendors, billing companies, et cetera, that are HIPAA compliant. But you also yourself as an office needs to do a lot of things that we'll talk about later to be compliant. The other big thing is people assume that, well, if I watch a video online or I purchase a course, that I'm HIPAA compliant. Again, that's only one piece. There's a lot more to it than that. But the good news is it is not difficult at all.
And
given the right
I
tools.
love how simple you make it for us. And I love how easy your program is to follow.
Thank you.
Ms. Janice, are there specific actions we can take now to enhance our business and better prepare for a future sale and transition out of practice? So again, Janice, she teaches us how to prepare for like an exit strategy if we do decide to sell our practice one day.
Yeah, it's even more than that. It's health practitioners realizing that you are building a business. So I think that we get into chiropractic, enough of us chiropractors, even on the panel, like we want to give, love, and serve. And that was my career. But what happens is we so often don't think about an exit until we're either forced to for a health reason, and or we think that we've only got a year or two left. And usually the planning is too late. So that being said, I have spent a long time even going in and talking with chiropractic students before they graduate. What are the ways to embrace the business of chiropractic while you give, love, and serve? So staying philosophical, but how do you build the business and put in your systems and have really reproducible things that allow your business to be of more value? So start really early. And then, yes, there's some things 10 years out or 5 years out as you begin to plan it. But I end up working with a lot of people who didn't create any of those plans, and then they're now in trouble, or
Right.
they can't sell their practice. And your practice is going to be a bigger asset than anything else you own.
I love it. Thank you. Christopher Koopman, what is whole life insurance and how does it differ from other types of life insurance?
So to do this in a short amount of time is very challenging, but I'm going to do my best. I want to start just by saying quickly that it should be a part of a much bigger strategy, and whole life insurance is zooming in and getting a little micro. But it's actually an incredibly versatile asset class, and it was really developed for the protection of families and businesses. And its main goal is to create and enhance wealth. So the dynamics of the policy is that it offers lifetime coverage, specifically for death. And that's the way that we all think about life insurance. I will say that there is more living benefits to whole life insurance than death benefits if you know how to utilize it properly in your planning. It has important guarantees and tax benefits. And so the three main components of it, we have a death benefit, which is a sum of money that would be distributed tax-free to a business or an individual if someone were to die who's insured on that policy. It has a cash value, which is kind of like a bank account, and it builds wealth over time. And whole life policies have another component called the dividend. And the dividend really is profits of the insurance company that are delivered to policyholders. Now, it's important to know that dividends are not guaranteed, but this asset class is so old. When you look at good quality mutual companies, Guardian Life, for example, has been paying dividends to their policyholders every year since 1868. So these companies are extremely profitable and sustainable. And if you think about that long history of over 150 years, we've gone through world wars, Great Depressions, pandemics, and these companies come out profitable even in the toughest financial times. Very quickly, it's different than other types of insurance. Term insurance is temporary coverage. It goes away when it expires. So it's kind of like renting a death benefit, and you don't get any of the money back you put into it. And universal and variable life insurance coverage has a cash component, but it's tied to market risk. So the guarantees are not as good in those types of policies.
Okay, and you're each going to have, if you go to joyfieldpractice.com/panel, I just dropped this in the Facebook group if you're watching us live, or if you're watching the recording, you can go to that site and get links to each one of the people presenting today to learn more about who they are and what they offer in this world. So we're going to go back with one more round of questions. And again, let's try to keep it to a couple of minutes because we really want to open it up to Q&A time for our community. So Anthony, I'm hitting you up again. What are your concerns regarding risk mitigation? Tell me what that means, first of all, and wellness-based practice. Oh, I can't hear you, my friend. But you're fun to look at.
Risk mitigation is basically that you are looking at your risk and you're doing your best to avoid it, best to prevent it. So that's what you're mitigating, or any risk that shows up in your office, you're making the appropriate changes to make those changes that will reduce that risk. So I think that when you talk about a wellness practice, which many chiropractors practice once they take a person through initial care, or any healthcare practitioner or any wellness model practitioner, the goal is wellness and health and well-being. But the biggest goal is transitioning that patient from that sick mind and that diseased mind state to a healthier mind state where they are participating in their own health and well-being. So we have these assumptions that people who listen to what we say as wellness practitioners, that they embrace that whole concept, and that when they see us and they ask our advice or they undergo our care, we're often assuming that they're following a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
And yet we saw a monkey wrench thrown in the whole thing over the last 2 years. So there is definitely things that we're seeing now that we've never seen before in practice. And it doesn't matter what healthcare practitioner you are, you have to be aware that 70% of the population has experienced some level of a jab, and another, maybe even more than that, has been exposed to COVID. And so what we have found is that this epithelium spike protein that affects the epithelium.
I'm going to cut you off
system.
there, and I'm going to move on to Carol. Sorry to cut you off, Anthony.
Okay.
So Carol, why is insurance so expensive?
Okay. Well, a lot of it really has to do, well, unfortunately, corporate greed would be one. Big pharma, which, you know, you guys in the wellness community, we're trying to get away from big pharma, obviously, but that's part of it. I mean, there's a lot of research that goes into medications, and that's why oftentimes some of these meds are very expensive, but there are also big profits that are being made by companies. Having said that, there's a lot of things that are mandated to be covered now, which is good. I mean, to have someone that had cancer and was being treated for cancer and have to have a $5 million limit of coverage lifetime, when they might need, so much more than that, it was important to have some of these mandates put into place so that everyone could be covered in a proper manner. So they wouldn't have to necessarily lose their life savings or be on the hook for $1.7 million for services, so now there's a cap on how much they would spend out of pocket with the plan. And so really it's the mandates, and some of it is unfortunately corporate greed that, these people are making a lot of money.
Right. It's right. So I love this question, Sue. What other types of insurance coverage would you recommend somebody in the wellness profession to carry?
Well, a coverage now that's become huge in our industry over the last few years, ever since, everybody's been working, remotely, is cyber liability insurance. Everybody has heard now about all of these hackers, right? You could be a small company, a big company. There's all these cyber threats, where they're demanding ransom. And if you don't pay the ransom, you're not getting back into your system. So this is huge. And also, people in wellness, you're collecting personal data from your customers, whether it's social security numbers or credit card or bank information. What if that information gets out there because a hacker comes into your system? You're responsible by law to notify all your clients if their information gets out there. And that's another huge expense. So cyber liability policies take care of all that. And yes, Jody, you do have it. I see you were like, oh my, I hope I have cyber. You definitely
I
have
just
cyber
tell Sue,
coverage.
get whatever I have to have, just make sure I have it. So, Jeff, what's considered compliant? Like, what does an office need to do in order to become compliant for HIPAA? And we've got people in the community that are asking that specific question. So I think it's a really common one. Like, how do I know if I'm HIPAA compliant? How do I know if give us like the skinny on it?
Okay, I'm going to rattle off a quick list, but you have to promise me not to stress out or to worry about what I'm going to say again.
I'm already stressed out about it.
Because they're actually very simple to manage. People just don't understand what's going on, and so they just assume that it's hard. But anyway, you have to understand or have know what safeguards you have, physical safeguards for your office, have HIPAA policies and procedures that are reviewed and approved annually. Know what job roles you have in your office, in your workforce, have your workforce trained every year, have business associate agreements in place, do what's called a systems activity review every year, inventory all of your computers and devices and know their safeguards. And all of that leads up to something called a risk analysis and risk management, which again is something you have to do every year, but it's actually quite extremely simple when you have the right tool, and it's all really done via computer. Yeah.
And you guys, working with Jeff, I can literally, Jeff, how many times a month do I email you? Like, is this HIPAA compliant? And he's so committed to what he does. He'll jump right in and be like, Jody, do this, 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 and this. And then I'm like, I'm Gucci, right?
Yes,
So,
HIPAA should not be hard. And that's my whole goal is to make it comfortable for people.
And it shouldn't be like this multi-million-dollar thing that you have to pay. It should be really affordable. So Janice, with that being said, what are the steps to understanding the value of your business? I know we've had a lot of conversations about this.
Yeah, it's everybody's got different perspectives. You'll hear a lot of people say when an accountant does a valuation of a small business, they kind of call that the forensic accounting, and they'll tend to go based on net. And that's where every small business person panics. And as a health practitioner, what you need to think about is really what your practice is worth. You're likely only going to get what's called 1x. And that means that you can, with the right kind of documentation and working with the right kind of people, you can get a valuation that's worth about a year's gross. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what people will pay you, but showing all the benefits, all the unique selling propositions of your business, reminding yourself, or for some of you listening that are looking to buy a practice, you sort of go, well, how could it be worth that? You can say, well, stop and think about it. Someone purchasing that small business that you've done all the work, if you've got the systems in place, they'll now reproduce that year over year over year. So they'll get a 10x or a 20x on that. So I always say to practitioners, this is what I mean. Like, if you run a $200,000 a year gross practice, your practice is going to be worth, with doing all the right steps, it's going to be worth about $200,000. You might not get paid that, but it's worth that. You know, it's difficult in healthcare to say it's a 1.5x or more. Some high-end practitioners that have put a lot of great things in place, they will actually generate 1.5x.
I love it. I'm typing a thought. Okay. Chris, I'm coming back to you, my friend. How can whole life support your financial growth? 2 minutes.
So it's important to understand that part of finance is managing risk, and whole life insurance specifically is what we refer to as a non-correlated asset class. So it's not tied to any stock market risk or risk that you would have affiliated with something like a stock, a bond, or a cryptocurrency, which we would refer to as risk on assets. So it's a uncorrelated asset in that it doesn't care what's going on with Wall Street. And when you don't have risk, you get other things without risk, which is what we call guarantees. And so whole life insurance has guaranteed growth, literally in a contract between you and an insurance company. So it's a valuable tool to create sustainable wealth. When you have that going on, especially looking at this year, for example, as we see the stock market down 20%, whole life insurance is just going up. It's only ever done that for almost 200 years. The cash value component can support financial growth because it can be used for many different reasons in your life. Withdrawals could be used to help with retirement cash flow. This year, a lot of my clients have utilized the loan privilege in the policy because it frees you from the lenders in our life. And when you can understand how to control interest rates for borrowing, wherein you can borrow from yourself at contractually guaranteed rates, it creates an opportunity for you to free yourself from the rising interest rate environment and have capital on hand to be able to redeploy. Really, what I focus on a lot with my clients is something called asset maximization strategies. And quite simply, the presence of a permanent death benefit allows you to spend your other assets differently in your lifetime. So you have the power to consume, to spend down other retirement assets because we're leveraging a true event, which is one day you're going to die. So that money will replenish the wealth that you spend.
So we're gonna die. We're gonna get sued. We're just